Now that John Wick has ascended to Valhalla and Keanu Reeves' soul has transferred into Black Sonic, it's about time that the action genre has gotten a bit of a revamp, with some new faces. Brown faces. Monkey Man is the most balls to the wall, over the top action movie political thing that I think I've ever seen. I watched this movie with my estranged Indian uncle that's a convicted felon, allegedly, and even he started making some weird grossed out squish faces at some of the more sensual scenes. The movie starts with our main character dressed in the gorilla suit from SpongeBob, getting his shit rocked. We find out that he's part of an illegal underground fighting ring, where his boss only pays him half because he doesn't get his ass beat hard enough. We then get to see this commercial of this weird naked baby man that becomes really important later on in the movie. After paying a young child to e-stalk a local celebrity, he employs an entire village to steal her handbag so that he has a reason to go into the cool kids club. After asking for a job to help him with his condition of being poor, she tells him that he's actually too poor to do anything. After showing off his severe eczema though, she gives him a chance at scrubbing toilets, because with hands like that, there's no way he's getting anywhere near food. We start getting flashbacks about something involving this mustached man and fire, before we cut back to the kitchen and get introduced to drugged up Indian Danny DeVito. After his first day on the job, Eczema Man is so fed up with cleaning up baby vomit that he goes to buy a gun from the local roti dealer. Back in the kitchen now, we meet our e-girl. She doesn't have an OnlyFans, but she's actually pimping out every single one of the girls in the photo albums. They're running a human trafficking drug den. And Indian Danny DeVito's job is to simultaneously be the biggest degenerate and smallest, most inefficient drug mule imaginable. Mr. Monkey Eczema reveals his secret identity and tells him about the illegal fights at the Underground Railroad so that he can drop Boss Lady's entire check and get on his good side. After proving that he actually does get his ass beat in securing the bag, he earns a promotion serving coke to dudes in suits that don't fit properly. After work, they go for a ride in a turbocharged tuk-tuk and trauma dump to each other before returning to the 9-to-5 grind. But an incident at work causes our main character to start having PTSD flashbacks. And while he's outside taking a breather, he meets this nice puppy that he feeds garbage to. And we jump into a montage of him going through his weekly routine of scrubbing dirt, getting his ass beat, feeding furry baby, and practicing his aim against the unfortunately mustached. Until finally the day of reckoning arrives and the fur baby brings him his Glocky while he's still at work. This is where the movie takes a serious turn and becomes something way realer, even though they're joking about how Danny DeVito's pee-pee doesn't work. We find out that the reason that any of this is even happening is because Eczema Man is trying to take revenge on this guy that has something to do with a traumatic incident from his past. And phase 1 of his plan is making him snort bleach until his head explodes. After realizing that he's not high and he's just dying, our villain Rana goes to take a potty break, but he's interrupted by this guy coming out of a stall and also by our main character pointing a gun at his face. But we're only 30 minutes into the movie, so we can't pull the trigger just yet. The fight in the bathroom shows us that our main character doesn't just get his ass beat for the crowd, and now that his plans fail, he tries his best to get away. I think this is genuinely one of the best chase sequences I've ever seen. I don't think I can tell you or do the movie the justice it deserves. Like, how do I explain that a rickshaw getaway scene was better than any Fast and Furious moment I've ever witnessed? Later in this video, I'm going to go into how this movie is way deeper than anything you see on the surface, but I think that it's worth watching for the action alone. They don't end up getting away in the 3-wheeled toddler car, and we end up in the back of a police van where we don't stay for very long because our main character kills everyone and decides to go for a jog through the slums. The movie doesn't give you a break with action scene after action scene, and it all stays really interesting with all the set changes, movement, and creativity in terms of how they decide to murk people. It took John Wick 3 movies to start biting people's noses off. This took 30 minutes, but all that gets put to a stop when they quickscope our main guy and he falls into a river full of dysentery. After some more flashbacks about his mother, we wake up inside of a temple where the leader of the group explains that they took him in after they found him almost dead inside the river. Apparently now he's the most wanted man in the city after his minor acts of terrorism, so he's gonna be staying with them for a while. Rana, our main bad guy, seems to have some sort of connection with that weird baby man that we saw earlier on TV, and he tells him that as insignificant as he may seem, Mr. Eczema has the potential to burn down everything that they've worked for if they don't completely snuff him out. Meanwhile, back at the temple, the guru is preparing hard drugs that he found in the dirt, so that our main character can trip balls and not be such a scaredy cat anymore. And also so we can see what all those flashbacks were about. We end up back in a small village right when they're putting on a play. The naked baby man actually seems to be in charge of this entire operation, to get these people out of their homes by any means necessary. And Rana is just the guy in charge of doing the dirty work. While everything is burning down outside, the main character's mom tells him to go hide upstairs so that nobody can find him. And it doesn't take too long until they're inside his house too. Rana confronts his mom, almost beating her to death while he watches from above. I think it's implied that something even worse happens here, but they don't show it, and we're kinda just left to wonder. Before leaving the house, they set her on fire, and a young Eczema comes down to try and save her, but there's nothing that he can do. We find out that the scars are from a desperate moment in his childhood, and they're not a skin condition. His guru tells him that it's time to fight for something other than just feeling pain, and that he has a purpose far greater, than just getting his ass beat. We then cut to weird baby man doing yoga in his diaper. He's been running an organized crime cult, all the while telling the media that the people he's stealing land from don't exist, and he's become such an influential figure that no one can question him. Kid, now grown up, starts his training arc after recovering from his geek session. They do something really cool here by blending the music with the fighting and having the drummer set the rhythm for all of his combinations. And it's just an example of one of those creative things that this movie does so well. Our main guy continues to get naked and sweaty for this group of hippies for an undetermined amount of time. And we start to see that this story might not have been as small scale as it seemed at first. In the background of everything that we've seen, there's a major political struggle going on with groups of people that outwardly use violence against the population. And Naked Baby Man is actually such a cult figure that he's influencing who's going to win the election. There's a way stronger link between this culty baby fever and the politics inside the world, and how it's actually affecting the people that live at the bottom. It actually relates to what's going on over there, and it's a big reason that this movie's actually banned in India. One of the temple dwellers ends up getting beaten by some people that are trying to evict the group. They're essentially squatting, have nowhere to go, and they need somebody to stand up for them. So in the middle of the night, Burna Boy goes to the statue of God to pray for better days, and to steal all of their money. We find out that Indian Danny DeVito's been getting soggy in the slums after being an accomplice to terrorism. And on his nightly stroll, he sees a poster that says Monkey Man has returned. The small twink child from earlier that was e-stalking the celebrity puts his entire V-Bucks allowance on one bet for the monkey. And after one of the most over-the-top, saliva-ridden pro wrestling intros ever, Eczema Man folds him with a single toe. But that was only round one, and all the toe strike does against his next opponent is tickle his pickle. Once he realizes that all he has to do is tickle it a little harder though, he wins the fight. The stolen breach makes its way back to the temple dwellers, and after repaying his debt, it's finally time for the monkey to finish what he started. Baba Ganoush pulls up to the facility to celebrate winning the election with all the other cokeheads. But Mr. Eczema and the gang are already on site, and they start fucking shit up immediately. He cooks a guy's ear and makes tea out of his hand before moving on to dessert, which is just a bomb that he puts on the stove. He decides not to take the stairs and instead gets intimate with two guys in an elevator. Not joking though, stabbing a guy in the neck while holding the knife with your teeth is some of the most deranged shit I think I've ever seen. And I can't tell if this director is just demented as fuck, or if everybody else making movies is just a wimp. After a full minute of squad wiping goons, even more minimum wage employees show up, and everything looks like it's over for our hero. But gang arrives right on time, and they start beating ass like it's Avengers Endgame. Except the costumes are even more insane. Symbolically, this scene is even cooler than it looks, but that's for part 2. Right now, we head upstairs to finish the mission. Ron is a cunt, so he sucker punches the shit out of Kid before he squares up for an actual fight. But when he starts punching the air, he realizes real quick that Dirty was the only way he was gonna win. Eczema Man doesn't get to completely troll him, but Buddy is not winning this fight. For kicking him in the ass 8 times, Rana's butt gives out. And Monkey Lord finally gets to take his revenge after all these years. There's no sappy, I forgive you for ruining my entire life, we can be friends now moment, and he takes his time beating him slowly while he remembers exactly what was done to his mother. After all that, it seems like the job should be done, but there's still one missing piece. The guy behind all of it. The Naked Baby Man. We find him soaking his toes upstairs, and he tries sweet-talking Eczema Lord into not fighting him. As a token of friendship, he presents his dirty sandals. And because the resale value on ancient Hindu drip is so high, our hero gets distracted long enough to get stabbed in the tummy. Now that he's locked in though, he catches the other toe fungus spike in a less than ideal way. Baby Man over-applied himself to yoga and didn't do any weight training, so even with his intestines falling out, our main guy is able to flip him over and stab him in the head, putting an end to all the violence and political manipulation that was going on behind him, at least for now. While looking at the painting on the wall, our main character has one final flashback, before he blacks out, along with the final frame of the movie. As far as summaries go, that was the most interesting I could make it. But it doesn't at all represent how good the movie actually is, and I still recommend you watch it. Part 2 is already out, so if you want to find out what all this actually means and see just how deep it goes, click on this thing. Thanks for watching.
Please subscribe so that I can eat. And so that you don't miss my new videos. New videos coming real soon. Press that button so you don't miss anything.